And we're back. This is Hook and Ladder. This is the week before the last week of the regular season. And we're going to review this week's scores and highlights. Begin with Georgia did what Georgia was expected to do. Remains undefeated, knocking off Charleston Southern 56-7. Seeing kids that we didn't even know were on the roster in the fourth quarter. Past Stetson and JT Daniels' quarterback situation, something to be concerned about next year.
Both of them can come back. I don't know if either one of them will. But yeah, Georgia looked good. Defense looked pretty good. You know, second half, there were all these young kids, freshmen, sophomore, 4-star and 5-star recruits that Kirby's been recruiting. These guys are getting in the game, and you can kind of see why Kirby recruited them. They're good-looking players. That defense did not allow a touchdown. Even the second, third team guys. Charleston Southern scored on a weird play. They threw an interception. Georgia, true freshman inside linebacker, intercepted it. Then he fumbled it. One of the Charleston Southern guys picked up and ran in for a touchdown. So they said on the broadcast it doesn't really count against a touchdown for Georgia's defense. But anyway, Georgia rolled. A little concerning on the offense. It's like the third week in a row. They've scored a boatload of points. They're scoring like 35 points a game, but they're kind of looking a little wonky. It's not as smooth as you think it was. They'll have like a few like stuffs, and then they'll do a big play, and they'll end up scoring. But just watching teams like Ohio State and Alabama, I do not think Stetson Bennett can make the throws C.J. Stroud and Bryce Young can.
Right.
They haven't needed him to really, but we'll see what happens down the road because now's where the big boys are about to start to play. So, but Georgia looked good.
Yeah. Moving right along, Alabama knocks off Arkansas in a bit of a squeaker, 42-35. Arkansas came to play.
They did. One of their touchdowns was on a fake field goal, so really it doesn't really go against the defense. It made it a little closer than it was. Kind of feel Alabama was in control of this game all the way up into the third quarter, and then Arkansas got a little bit close. I know Alabama fans were sweating a little bit, but Bryce Young, throws for 560 yards and 5 touchdowns. Looks so effortless when he's doing it. Williams' kid, the transfer wide out from Ohio State, good Lord, look what Ohio State's doing, and this kid transferred from there, and he's a superstar at Alabama. Tons of talent, just maybe wasn't kind of getting what he felt was his fair share at Ohio State. Now he's having a great season at Alabama, but damn, their offense is rolling. Defense is a little suspect. They're giving up some pass plays, and they're giving up some run plays. If you can get away from Will Anderson, you can maybe gain some yards, but can you outscore them?
That's the question.
Just like with Ohio State, I feel Alabama and Ohio State are right up there in terms of the two best offenses in the country.
Correct.
Can you outscore them? For a long time, when we were growing up, the old saying was defense wins championships. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think it's offense wins championships.
We're going to find out here in a few weeks. Oregon lost to Utah 38-7. I watched this game. Utah was just blowing them away on both sides of the ball.
Yes, completely physical domination by Utah. Oregon players didn't even look like they wanted to tackle them. The only guy in Oregon that was doing anything was Sewell, the inside linebacker. Thibodeau was a non-factor.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes it does that. But yeah, Utah was dominant in a very dominant fashion.
Yes, they ran it all over them. They threw it all over them. Oregon had no answer. Oregon had nothing going on offense. It was a kind of a tight game there at the end of the first half, and then within like a minute left, Utah scored 2 touchdowns right away, made it 28-0. End of the half, game over. Oregon shits the bed. Looks like the Pac-12 is going to get left out of the playoffs again. Literally, Oregon was the only hope, and it wasn't even a guarantee unless they won out completely. But yeah,
they're going to play Utah.
Point,
again.
It's out.
Yeah,
Cincinnati's thanking them right now.
Yes, but Cincinnati still needs a little bit more help. Talk about another top 4 team. Ohio State in a dominant fashion knocks off number 7 Michigan State 56-7. This game was no contest. This looked like the Alabama-Georgia game in 2008 when it was 31-0 at the half.
Yeah.
It was just total domination.
Michigan State was the 130th ranked pass defense, so you can kind of understand how C.J. Stroud and those wide open wide receivers. I mean, good Lord. C.J. Stroud's a hell of a quarterback throwing the football. It is not hard to do when your wideouts are 10 to 15 yards away from the nearest defender. I mean, Olave and that Wilson kid, and then, I can't pronounce his name, but he's number 11. It's wide open the entire day. They didn't even have to run it with Henderson all that much. Game was over after the first quarter. He didn't play after the first half. And I think he was like 28 for 30. Just incredible performance. You know, Ohio State's probably the hottest team in the country right now. And they got locked up. They lost to Oregon early. You can lose, just lose early like they did. They got locked up. They play Michigan next week. I don't think it's going to be a contest.
I don't know. Maybe you never know. It's going to be at the Big House, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it's actually at
Ohio State.
in Michigan, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, okay.
Is that the Big House? That they call it?
Yeah, it's Big House. Yeah, okay. Moving right along, Cincinnati took care of business against SMU, and they have to do this in a dominant fashion. I don't know what's going on with the camera. Anyway, Cincinnati took care of SMU 48-14.
And they had to win like
They
this.
had to win like that.
SMU was ranked not too long ago. They were ranked. Cincinnati had to win big. They've got to win these last couple games big. And they did it. They looked really good. This is one of the best games they've played all year, in my opinion. I know Luke Fickell was like, oh, win's a win. And he's kind of that ho-hum, like just keep it even keel type of coach. But you could tell these guys were ready. He said in the press conference after the game, these guys were ready all week. A lot of energy. They looked really good. Ritter looked awesome. He threw a TD pass. He ran one in. He caught one for a touchdown. Senior day in Cincinnati. So good for them. With Oregon losing, right now it looks like Cincinnati's probably in because the winner of the Michigan-Ohio State game is going to get knocked out. Ohio State's right now sitting at 4. Michigan's at 6. Winners are going to get knocked out. Losers knocked out. Winners go into the Big Ten championship game for a chance to get in. Cincinnati's looking really good right now just to get in. They got another 2 games, decent competition, and the last one will be the conference title game. So.
Right. Michigan knocked off Maryland 59-18. Didn't see any of this, but Michigan does what they need to do. They get an opportunity this weekend against Ohio State, which we just mentioned. Notre Dame knocked off Georgia Tech 55-0. I think Notre Dame's going to get in.
They've got a good path. Now, they lost to Cincinnati, which helps that Cincinnati is undefeated and ranked where they are. And that also helps Cincinnati because Notre Dame's a one-loss team, right? Currently number 10. They'll move up. I think they'll move up to maybe like 6, maybe 5, and kind of just wait till that last week, next week, and then the week of the conference championship games. They don't play one because they're not in a conference. They're going to have in a wait-and-see mode, but if certain teams lose, they're ready to jump in.
And they're playing a lot better now.
Other than Cincinnati, I think Notre Dame, I would say other than Cincinnati and whoever's going into the Big Ten, Notre Dame has the best chance to get in because I don't think Oklahoma State, who we'll talk about next, is going to jump them.
Right. Oklahoma State knocked off Texas Tech 23-0. Didn't watch any of this game, but they've got a big matchup against Oklahoma this week.
Yep, they got Bedlam, and then I believe the winner of that game will probably end up going to the Big 12 championship game to play Baylor. So Oklahoma State controls their own destiny. They got to win out. They've got a good shot. Oklahoma will probably jump up to number 11 or 12 after their win. They're a one-loss team.
I don't.
Oklahoma State beats them. That's a highly ranked win. They could get up there, but I still think at number 9 they're a little too far down.
There's too many teams above them.
Yes.
Now, if they do manage to knock off Oklahoma, they will probably jump Notre Dame and Cincinnati. That being said, they got to beat Oklahoma. Yeah,
and then they need some help. They need some other teams
to lose. Baylor.
Somebody's going to lose between Ohio State and Michigan, so that's one team that's going to drop down. But next 2 weeks this is all going to play out, so it's kind of getting fun. But we're looking at teams right now, seeing how they play out, if they win out, whatnot, their road, kind of showing you guys what their road to the playoff might be.
Wake Forest got knocked off by Clemson. Clemson's starting to play a little bit better. They're 8-3 now. Wake Forest is 9-2. They'll probably end up with the same record in the season. I don't know who Wake Forest is playing next week. If Wake Forest in the ACC title game locked up,
I think they've got to win next week. Pitt's already locked themselves up. They're already in. I think Wake Forest has to win out, and they have to win next week to get in.
Okay.
But Clemson, golly, Dabo Swinney is insufferable. He's like, oh, we've lost 3 games. Well, NC State's really good. And he's like, we lost to Georgia, and they're pretty good, and we only gave up 3 points. We scored the other 7 points on ourselves. I'm like, come on, Dabo, just keep your mouth shut. Keep your mouth shut and coach your team with your 5-star hearts. Good for Clemson. They've got 3 losses. Nobody wants to see them in the playoffs anyway.
That's right. Moving right along, Baylor knocked off Kansas State, and they just right along doing their business, 20-10.
Yeah, they lost their starting QB down to a hamstring injury. He probably won't play next week. Status for the Big 12 championship game is uncertain. That would be a huge blow to them. Even they got 2 losses, they're not in the playoffs, but they can still fight for a conference championship and a New Year's Six bowl game.
Ole Miss knocked off Vanderbilt 31-17. Pretty dominant game. First half, I saw some of it.
Yeah, they had so many more opportunities. This could have been even worse, and they just couldn't cash in. Matt Corral's last game at home. You know, he announced that the other day, like Thursday or Friday, that he's going pro.
Yeah.
So good for Matt Corral. He looks really good. I think he's going to be an awesome pro.
Yeah.
He's kind of got that Brett Favre vibe where he can scramble around. He's got a cannon of an arm. You got to have the right coach with him, in my opinion, though. But, man, you know, had a stellar career at Ole Miss. Good for him.
Got a lot of talent. Oklahoma took care of business against Iowa State, 28-21. They stay alive, but they're 13th in the country, and I don't know. I don't see it happening for them.
Iowa State likes to blow these big games in dramatic fashion. We watched this game, a couple of different scenarios where they got first downs thrown to the tight end. It seemed like to be the tight end was the only guy that could catch a pass for Iowa State, and Brock Purdy just kept going to him. And on first down, twice they would spike it. There was plenty of time left on the clock. Do they not practice the hurry-up offense at Iowa State? They're spiking the football and going to 2nd and 10 right away. So it got down to the end of the game. They needed to score a touchdown to tie. They just wasted 1 down by spiking. They had like 30 seconds left. They're going to throw every down. Mm-hmm. And even if you don't have any timeouts, I still think that's a bad call to do it then. You basically just kill it down for yourself. They got 4th down. Brock Purdy overthrew a wide-open guy inside the 10 for a 1st and goal. And I just kept thinking, Brock Purdy likes to shit the bed on these big games. You know, good quarterback. He just can't get it done, overthrowing guys. He's done it many times. Last year he did it in the Big 12 championship game. Just kind of, they're one of those teams where you have high hopes for them and they just really disappoint. But Oklahoma just rolling along after that loss last week. Which was fun to see. Yeah. But yeah, they're rolling along and they're out of it. But you know they've got a chance for a conference championship.
There you go. BYU knocked off Georgia Southern 34-17. Wisconsin took care of business against Nebraska 35-28.
I feel bad for Nebraska. I mean they hung in this game. A late touchdown run for Wisconsin kind of put it away. They also had an early, I think it was kickoff return for a touchdown, take the wind out of Nebraska's sails. But Nebraska's fighting. They're fighting in all these games. You know, they almost beat Oklahoma. You know, they're fighting in all these games. They played Ohio State tough, but they're fighting in these games, and they're coming up short, and they're losing by 1 score. I really am like, I don't want to see Scott Frost get fired. I think he's there. It's hard to recruit to Nebraska nowadays.
He just needs to get a quarterback.
He does. And he gets like a couple of key guys, and he really can turn this thing around. I believe he can.
He just needs more time.
He does, and I don't know whether they're going to give it to him, which kind of sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. Texas A&M took care of Prairie View 52-3. Didn't see any of that.
Texas A&M is a good football team. They really just had their season ruined by losing to Ole Miss.
Yeah. Iowa knocked off Illinois 33-23. Doesn't see any of this one. Pittsburgh, 18th in the country, knocks off Virginia 48-38.
They're going to the ACC championship game. They're 6-1 in the conference. Pickett looks good. What else can you say? Pittsburgh's kind of fun to watch, especially when they wear those blue and yellow unis. I dig those.
Those are handsome.
But yeah, we'll see them in the conference championship game. I believe it's going to be Wake Forest. If Wake Forest loses, though, I don't know who it's going to be. It could be Clemson.
Yeah.
Clemson's 1 loss to Georgia. They got 2 conference losses, but that they might win the tiebreaker against Wake Forest.
All right. NC State is ranked. The 41-17 win over Syracuse. Was it University of Texas San Antonio remains undefeated, 34-31 against UAB.
Good for them.
And Mississippi State 55-10. So let's go.
I don't think there's a hotter quarterback in the country than the kid from Mississippi State.
He's playing well.
He is. He's playing really well.
Okay. Well, let's talk about next week's matchups, the final week of the regular season. The week kicks off Tuesday night with games that don't really matter. Thursday, you got the Egg Bowl?
The Egg Bowl's Thursday night.
Ole Miss versus Mississippi State, 2 ranked teams. That could be an exciting game. It's going to be in Starkville.
You can start your Thanksgiving day off with your family, maybe watch a little of the Detroit Lions play at 1, but they kind of suck. 3:30, change the channel over to Fresno State. Who are they playing? Go back. Fresno State's a fun team to watch against San Jose. Another pretty fun team to watch. 2 good offensive juggernauts right there in the West Coast. 3:30 p.m. kickoff time. Check it out. That'd be a fun game to watch. And then after you've had your 3rd or 4th helping of Thanksgiving dinner, you get to watch the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss at Mississippi State. That's going to be a hell of a game. 2 high-flying throwing offenses. No idea who's going to win this game. I'd like to say Ole Miss, but Mississippi State's playing well.
Mike Leach has got those kids believing him.
Yeah, and like I said, the QB from Mississippi State's on fire the last few weeks. Definitely, if you're a betting person, take the over on this. It's probably going to end up being like over 80 points.
Yeah, you can get a ticket for $38.
Dude, that's awesome. We should just go. Sorry, to my wife and child. I'm going with him. We're going to Mississippi State, watch the game.
There we go. Just leave out early. And,
Dip out.
Have
a 9 a.m. Thanksgiving meal and then just dip out.
Yeah, that sounds like a plan to me. Let's see what else is going on. So Friday, you got Nebraska against Iowa. Hopefully that's not Scott Frost's last game there. That'll be in Lincoln. Cincinnati will try to finish out their regular season, against East Carolina at 3:30 on Friday. They've got to win.
Just win big. East Carolina's not ranked and not that good. Just win big.
And a game that you would not think at the beginning of the season. North Carolina against NC State at 7 o'clock Friday night. NC State's ranked. North Carolina's not. Mm-hmm. That's always shocking to me. I was kind of hoping that
North Carolina just saved you. Like last year, I was so high on them last year, and they disappointed. Lost a lot of skill guys, but Sam Howell's still there. Yeah. This will probably be his last game for North Carolina. I would imagine he's going pro. That'd be a fun game to watch at 7. But then, 8 p.m., 2 garbage teams, but it's called the Civil War, Washington State versus Washington. I believe Washington's already fired their coach. Yeah. Could care less who wins this game, but it probably might be fun to watch. I guess it's really, really cold up there.
Husky Stadium.
This time of year. Yeah. So it's in Seattle, so... Yeah. Probably going to be raining.
Okay. Saturday morning, high noon, Georgia takes on Georgia Tech at 12. That game hasn't been a night game.
12 years in a row, I believe, it has been a noon game. It's basically because Georgia Tech is a garbage program. I've been hearing some Georgia fans, with the whole playoffs and the talk of expansion, Georgia fans would like to just ditch Georgia Tech from the schedule and play more worthy opponent, a better opponent to kind of maybe help with strength of schedule rankings, because all Georgia Tech does is drag down the strength of schedule. That's a garbage program. Georgia Tech fans are already talking about the buyout for the coach after getting beat 55-0 by Notre Dame. If you're a Georgia fan, you got to like this kickoff time, though. Probably not to go to the game, but noon kickoff time, get you back in Athens with a little bit more time Saturday afternoon and evening to prepare for Alabama, because they're going to need it.
Mm-hmm. Ohio State takes on Michigan, 4 versus 6. I would assume the winner of this game, pretty much, assuming they win their title game, pretty much locks himself out. Loser is out of the equation. Yep.
2-loss loser, non-conference championship appearance. They're out completely. This is easily the game of the week. It was billed this morning as the game.
It is the only game, if you ask me.
Yeah, this game is going to be awesome, and it's at noon, which I think is a BS time for this game. This game is so huge, it needs to be at night. But as my good friend Jason Long, who's an Ohio State fan, said, I've mentioned it before on the show, I asked him, why do you play this game at noon? He says, don't want to wait all day to whoop that ass. Mm-hmm. So that's an excellent reason. It's at noon. I expect Ohio State to roll, even though it's at Michigan, and this is a must-win for Harbaugh, in my opinion. This is a great season for Michigan, but come on. You have got to, at some point, beat Ohio State. he's not going to get canned for losing Saturday. But this could start that ball rolling that if he has a bad year next year.
I was thinking last year that was a bad year, but he's running 6. That in all reality, they have a chance to win this game.
They do. He's got the quarterback he wants. He's got the players that I didn't think he had in the past. He was lacking some skill guys. He's got some pretty decent skill guys now. He's got the quarterback. He's got the 5-star quarterback waiting in the wings, McCarthy. I think Michigan was correct to give him one more chance. He's built his team. They might not win this game. They might be a 2-loss team and go to a really, really good bowl game. And that's still, in my opinion, a successful season for Michigan. Right. But they do have a chance to win this game. And I think as long as they don't get blown out, he's okay.
Yeah. Wake Forest takes on Boston College. Again, Wake Forest is ranked 10th in the country. A noon game.
Yep, I think this is a must-win for them to get into the conference title, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Baylor takes on Texas Tech at noon. Houston takes on UConn at noon. Here's a game that should be huge, but it's not. Florida State and Florida. That's also at noon.
Watch this game, though, if you can, because there's probably going to be a fight. These two teams hate each other. There's always some brouhahas going on in this game. Dan Mullen's gone. We talked about that before we started filming today. Word came out yesterday that they were looking to maybe have a press conference as early as today to announce he's out. Probably tomorrow they'll announce he's out, and with good reason. The comments that dude makes about recruiting and winning and playing the games, I mean, do you want that coming from your head coach? If you're 10-0, 11-0, all right, fine. Talk like an idiot. Talk like a clown. There's a reason why the entire conference is calling him the clown coach. I think he wanted to go to the NFL last year. It didn't happen. And I think he's been checked out this year. Yeah. Players know it. Recruits know it. He's fired a lot of his defensive staff. He fired the offensive line coach. And they've gotten worse since. Yeah. They've basically just checked out. Yeah. I expect Florida State to take him down this week. Because it's just inside that program. It's been bad. It's just going to get worse after tomorrow.
Yeah. Miami against Duke at 12:30. I think Manny's gone too. Duke at Miami. And I hear Cutcliffe might be gone too.
I feel kind of bad for Manny because you know what? They were pretty decent last year. De'Aaron King got hurt. He was never the same. The QB they have, I forgot what his name is. He looked really good. They ran off like 3 or 4 games in a row. They won. They beat some ranked opponents. I say give the dude another chance. I used to be like down for firing coaches. Yeah. Now I'm completely against it because you never know the guy you are bringing in. You can't guarantee he's going to be an upgrade. And how many times have we seen, teams fire a guy? Texas is a great example. They're waiting to fire dudes, and it just gets worse. Mm-hmm. Tennessee, for a long time, same deal. They kept firing guys, bringing guys in. Coaches didn't want to take the job. They're looking at Jeremy Pruitt as like a 6th candidate, and then Heupel's like a 6th or 7th candidate.
Granted, I think Heupel might be their answer, but I don't know.
I do too, and maybe we'll get to that in a bit. But firing guys isn't always the way to go. Let them try to rebound.
Right. Alabama takes on Auburn at 3:30, which is pretty much the standard 3:30 game for the rivalry week. Auburn's kind of banged up. Bo Nix is out. Bama probably just going to gear up, but you never know. It's going to be on the plains.
Yeah, with that game on the plains, you never know how it's going to go. Tank Bigsby looked really, really good last night. Some of the Auburn offensive guys looked really, really good last night. I think their defense is massively suspect. Mm-hmm. Expect Bryce Young to have a huge game, but Auburn, that's a crazy place to play down in Jordan Hare.
Mm-hmm. Oregon takes on Oregon State at 3:30. Looking to bounce back after a drumming by Utah. Michigan State, Penn State. Penn State, is this James Franklin's last game?
It's possible.
Yeah.
And this is a must-win game, I think, for both teams. Michigan State's coming off, I think, back-to-back losses. Mm-hmm. Right the ship, Michigan State. Go to a nice New Year's Bowl game. 10-2 on the season. Go to a nice bowl game. Win that. You're 11-2. That's a hell of a season. Mm-hmm. Really, really nice season. Penn State's got to win, or else this is a dumpster fire of a season for them.
It's already a dumpster fire of a season. Purdue against Indiana. I think I saw a clip of Purdue's kicker onside kicking it. He launched it and hit some dude in the helmet, and he recovered the ball.
I did not see that. I checked it out online. That's cool.
I think it was Purdue. It was yesterday. I saw it coming on my Twitter feed. Tennessee against Vandy.
Battle of Tennessee. Tennessee's looking real good. Much improved, like we just said. Probably the fastest improvement. I wasn't expecting them to be as good offensively as they are with all those dudes who hit the transfer portal. And if you think about their star players, their star running backs playing for North Carolina, there are 2 starting linebackers who should both be NFL players next year. Toa Toa is playing for Alabama, and Crouch is playing for Michigan State. They lost so many guys to that transfer portal, and Heupel's got them playing really well offensively. I wasn't expecting this for another 2 to 3 years, but they're way ahead of schedule.
They are. Wisconsin takes on Minnesota at 4. I'm really surprised that after the season Wisconsin had last year, they've actually turned it around. They're 15th in the country.
Playing really, really well.
Yeah. Texas A&M against LSU at 7 o'clock.
Cool game to watch.
Last game, Fred Orgeron and LSU. Maybe Jimbo jumps ship and goes to LSU, but I kind of doubt it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I'm thinking, I believe Mel Tucker just got a huge extension. Lincoln Riley's not going to leave Oklahoma, but boy, that would flip. The Oklahoma fans would lose it because they feel that their program is a top program. If he bails for LSU, it basically just shows you, Oklahoma, they might win that conference every year, but they're not competing for titles.
Oklahoma takes on Oklahoma State at 7:30. Bedlam, 13 against 9.
This is the game I'll be watching Saturday night.
This is going to be really for Oklahoma State a chance to get in the dance, and Oklahoma just to salvage the season, I guess.
I also will have that Notre Dame Stanford game on just so I can watch Stanford lose, because it's always fun watching Stanford lose.
That'll be at 8 o'clock. And BYU takes on USC at 10:30, and then you got the California UCLA game at 10:30 as well.
Just a little bit ago, I was talking about Manny Diaz and Miami firing him, and I was kind of issuing caution. Let's look at Florida, for example. They fire their coach, Dan Mullen, today or tomorrow. Things could get worse. Same thing, scroll back down a little bit. Same thing for USC. They fired their coach a couple years ago. They gave some guys the interim job, then they gave the job to Helton. Never quite righted the ship or fast enough. I do believe a lot of these schools are way too quick to pull the trigger to get rid of a guy. Yeah. And it kind of comes to backfire and bite him in the rear end.
Fuentes out at Virginia Tech, right?
Yeah, he's gone. So, I mean, there's...
And what, 3 or 4 years ago, he was like the guy that everybody wanted.
Matt Campbell, he should have left Iowa State last year and parlayed that New Year's Six bowl game into a better job. And then here he is, probably going to be coaching Iowa State for a while. My whole point is, be careful wanting your guy gone. You don't know who you're going to get. There's so many cautionary tales about things getting worse. But there's also... things like Jimbo Fisher. I don't think he's quite righted the ship at A&M, but Nick Saban was a hire. Kirby Smart, guys like that. Look at Ryan Day was Urban Meyer's offensive coordinator, if I'm not mistaken. So they did the right thing, in my opinion, hiring from within. I do believe LSU is going to offer the job to Bama's offensive coordinator. O'Brien was NFL coach for a while. I believe they're going to offer it to him. I don't think it's going to affect Alabama at all. Nick Saban just brings in assistants, and there might be 1 or 2 points in the season where they talk about, they're not playing as well as they should because they've had all this coaching turnover. It doesn't matter. Saban's the dude. He gets his guys, and they're always competitive.
I've heard Aranda.
Aranda at Baylor. It's a possibility. I don't think he's a big enough name, but he's been there before.
That's what I've been hearing rumors are right now. A lot of stuff to be determined here in the next few weeks. A lot of games left to be played.
Yep.
And everything starts to matter a lot more after next week.
Yeah, we'll be here again next week talking about who might be in, who might be out of the playoff contention. But really, that's not all going to play out until the conference championships. I've been seeing a lot of Ohio State fans on Twitter complain about the SEC championship is going to be rigged, so Georgia loses, so the SEC can get 2 teams in. I wouldn't put it past them because the SEC caters to whatever Alabama wants. So those Ohio State fans are kind of right, but I don't think that will happen. I think if Georgia beats them, Alabama's out and it opens the door for somebody else to jump in, like a Notre Dame. But I don't know.
I think, in all honesty, Georgia beats Alabama. Alabama's out of the dance. And I think it benefits everybody. If you put Georgia and Ohio State and two other unknown teams that haven't been in the championship or the playoff, like maybe a Cincinnati and a Notre Dame or Oklahoma State, it's good for the sport.
It's good for the sport. It's good for the fans. The fans don't want to see the usual suspects in this game. We talked 3 or 4 weeks ago about maybe only having 1 to 2 of the usual suspects in these 4-team playoff, which is why I'm for expansion. I like to see other teams. Look, if you play the 8th ranked team 1 week and then the 6th ranked team the next week and then the 3 ranked team the week after that, that's just more opportunities you have to play a really good team and lose. But I do believe you're going to see at least 2 of the usual suspects in the playoffs, Alabama and Ohio State, because I believe Alabama's going to take Georgia out. They'll move up to 1. Georgia should be 4th, but they'll probably rig it and put Georgia at 3rd. They'll have Cincinnati and Alabama play, Georgia, Ohio State play. That's how I think it's going to play out. But I do believe the committee will do some shuffling to make the semifinal games the most watchable for the fans. Maybe not the most competitive, but the most watchable for the fans.
So we'll see what happens here going forward. Anyway, that concludes this week's episode. You guys have a great week, and we'll see you Sunday.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.